order just today. And Raymond Arroyo has, well, he got a lot of attention for last Friday's fall, seen around the world, even from some Hollywood heavyweights. Was it an accident or was it staged? We'll explain in Seen and Unseen. Plus the devastating aftermath left in Hurricane Michael's wake. We're going to monitor that throughout the hour and bring you any important updates, so keep it right here. But first, what they're teaching our children. That's the focus of tonight's Angle. Remember the old Graham Nash song?
Teach your children well, 'cause their father's hell did slowly go by.
Beautiful song, released in 1970. It kind of became one of the unofficial anthems for the anti-Vietnam War movement. And Nash has even updated the song for a new time to cover the Women's March, anti-gun marches, and President Trump.
Teach your parents well, their children's hell will slowly go by.
Oh, isn't that sweet? Kids, that's what you're supposed to think of the president. So what are the kids actually learning lately from the current band of protesters? Well, one of my sons stopped to look at the TV on Saturday. We were all watching the Kavanaugh vote, and he saw the live feed of some of the chaos outside the Supreme Court. Like, what's that? He asked. And are they even supposed to be doing that? He was reacting later to scenes like this and video of senators being cornered in elevators. So I tried to give an explanation that I thought was appropriate for a 10-year-old and said something like, well, those people, Dimitri, are angry about the Supreme Court. And the man, friend of mommy's, President Trump chose as the next justice. And he kind of said, oh, he scrunched up his little nose and said, can't we watch something else? But it made me think a lot about this. The Kavanaugh battle has brought out the worst in the Democrats, and our kids are watching. Rather than re-examine their tactics following this seismic defeat, liberals have decided to go even lower. And by the way, it's not happening just in Washington. In Minneapolis, a special education teacher identified in reports as Samantha Ness was placed on administrative leave for tweeting the following. So who's going to take one for the team and kill Kavanaugh? Wait, the first offense is that the teacher doesn't know the difference between the possessive and the contraction for who is. Well, the genius followed up with this. Brett Kavanaugh will be dealing with death threats for the rest of his life being on the Supreme Court. I doubt my Midwest A word is the real threat. This is someone entrusted to shape young minds? Well, she's since resigned. But I wonder how many others are like her out there. Maybe they're not tweeting, but they're doing other things. And how about this marquee outside of a South Charlotte middle school in North Carolina the other day? It read, you can see it there, kind of, F. Kavanaugh. It was apparently created by some leftist vandal. Well, what an uplifting message for the children to absorb while being dropped off at school. Totally disgraceful. Something's changed since the Kavanaugh confirmation. There's a desperate, far more unhinged nastiness on the left that we've seen as well spill into the classroom setting. Remember, universities excuse class absences for cancel Kavanaugh rallies. And that was preceded over the past year by marauding bands of frenzied leftists who were out there vandalizing and destroying historical statues. Well, just because they could and because they suddenly found those statues offensive. And of course, we had the celebrities feeling totally free to threaten the life of the president.
I have thought an awful lot about blowing up the White House.
When was the last time an actor assassinated a president?
And if a celebrity dares to give voice to a different political viewpoint, like Kanye West, well, he's ridiculed with words that would get any conservative on television either boycotted or most likely fired.
Kanye West is what happens when Negroes don't read. And we have this now, and now Donald Trump is going to use it and pervert it, and he's going to have somebody who can stand with him and take pictures.
It's hilarious. No, it's disgusting. Doesn't the left realize that our children, they're watching this? That they're teaching them that the cruder you are, the more violent you are, the further you will advance your agenda, the more attention you'll get. the cooler you'll be considered. The sad thing is, these vicious liberals not only don't care about kids, they use them in an attempt to score pathetic political points. I had almost forgotten somehow about this campaign during Trump's immigration policies. Let's watch.
Screaming, "Get out of my country!" Republicans use offensive words.
So here's a few of our own.
Racist. You don't like our Constitution and what it stands for? Get the out of my country.
Now some have faulted the president for his, surly lines at rallies, promising to knock the hell out of a country or telling a protester to get the hell out of here. I get it, that's fine. Criticize him for that. But does that really have the visual power of something like this?
We believe that we will win! 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 And we will not forget! And we will not forget! We will not go back! We will not go back! Women vote! Women vote! Survivors vote! Survivors vote!
And that could just be the beginning. Democratic leaders from Maxine Waters to Cory Booker have advocated more harassment and aggressive get-in-their-face-of tactics over the recent days. And now former Attorney General and Democratic presidential hopeful, perhaps, Eric Holder, is adding his voice to the hateful chorus.
When they go low, we go high. No. They go low, we kick them. That's what this new Democratic Party is about.
Well, I agree with him. That is the new Democratic Party. And I fear that this language and this persistent anger factory we're seeing, the chaos of the left, is going to get someone killed. Almost killed Steve Scalise last year. On my radio show today, Senator Chuck Grassley, of course the chairman of the Judiciary Committee, had a message for Democrats.
Public officials, and I'm not a perfect public official, but I think we all ought to set an example of civility. They got a responsibility to renounce it.
I'll say, and by not renouncing it, by not denouncing the mobs, the methods, and the mayhem, the Democratic leadership is tacitly encouraging more of the harassment and more of the intimidation. Remember all those anti-bullying PSAs the Obama White House did? Well, now the Democrats are the worst bullies around. Children don't listen as closely as they watch. So what will they take away from scenes like this? Yeah, look at it. It doesn't even look like it could be somewhere in the Middle East during some terrorist event. And while the heat of this political moment will pass, if we really want to teach our children well, we all better get back to the basics. That means values like respect, decorum, and civil discourse. And that's the angle. Joining me now is Dan Bongino, former Secret Service agent and author of the new book, Spygate. And also joining me is Rochelle Ritchie, former press secretary for the House Democrats. Rochelle, let's start with you. What will the Democratic response be if something horrific happens because of the anger and the frenzy both congresswomen, senators, and others are either tacitly encouraging or actually encouraging with their words?
Well, Laura, you mentioned that someone might be killed as a result of what we're hearing coming from the left, but I want to say that someone already has been killed as a result of what's coming from the right, and that's Heather Heyer. And really, the hypocrisy that we're seeing coming from Republicans right now is killing objective thinking. The inability of the GOP to think objectively and to hold themselves to the same accord as they hold everyone else is literally like a plague that is spreading throughout our politics. If we think that people banging on the doors of the Supreme Court aimlessly, it was kind of ridiculous, I will admit, but if we think those people are a mob, then we should also think that the people that
Do you encourage that, Rochelle? Is that what you actually consider to be civil protest, or what we saw with Antifa in Portland? Preventing a car or harassing an elderly American holding up a Go Talk sign.
I don't claim Antifa, and like I just said a second ago, I thought banging on the doors of the Supreme Court aimlessly was a little bit ridiculous. But also keep in mind that Congressman Cleaver was actually spat on during the Tea Party movement from people who were angry about Obamacare. So that is...
Well, who was encouraging that? Yeah, who was encouraging that? No one was encouraging that. No Republican said get in their faces, go out and harass them, go to restaurants. Dan Bongino, I'm going to get you in on this. We were encouraging people to do that. That never happened.
There were, but
no, there weren't. Go ahead.
Yes, there were.
No,
there were. We'll get to it.
Yeah. I just want to note that what Rochelle just did is really gross, and I want to call her out for that immediately. What happened to Ms. Heyer in Charlottesville? I didn't interrupt you. I'd appreciate if you'd let me speak. It's the right thing to do. We're trying to be civil, correct? Okay, thank you.
Now we are.
What you did was grotesque. What you did was quite gross. The Republicans, Donald Trump, and conservatives have absolutely nothing to do with a deranged murdering maniac who runs a woman over in Charlottesville. That is gross. President Trump denounced that immediately, and you bringing that up in the context
of this. He said it was good and bad
disgusting.
people on both sides.
Rochelle, why don't you just take over the debate? Go ahead,
you can
because you're the civil one. Go ahead. Thank you. I'm allowed to speak now. Okay,
I'm allowed
I appreciate your permission there.
So let him say something, then you can respond, Rochelle. That'll be fine. Go ahead.
The point is, what you're doing is you didn't answer the question immediately. You distracted everybody by going to Charlottesville, which the Republicans denounced, and then you had to fabricate another one that Cleaver was spit on. He was not spit on. We're making that up. Those stories about what happened during the Obamacare debate are completely fabricated. These are nonsense events. You were asked a simple question about if you should denounce violence on the left, and you made it about something else other than answer the question, which frequently liberals do.
Rochelle.
Well, I'm just going to respond by saying this. First of all, that story is completely true. I would encourage.
Like going back into Cleaver and the speech. Well, let's try to keep it because we have limited time. Let's keep it focused to what's happening right now, because I think we all do care about what kids take away from this. Whether it's kids in an immigration video saying F the president, putting up their middle finger, or whether it's people going up to individuals with their children or their family, their wives or husbands in a restaurant and screaming them out of a restaurant, it is incumbent upon both Republicans and Democrats to stand up and say, no, you will not do this. We don't countenance this. And when Eric Holder is out there saying, we'll kick them, I mean, Michelle Obama actually said, when they go low, we'll go high. And apparently Eric Holder's is like, no, we're not going to go. We're actually going to kick them, and maybe even worse. Who knows?
Well, I think
you can't be for that, Rochelle.
Oh, absolutely not. I definitely don't think that you should assault anyone, but I also think that we have to remember, and if people go back and look at what Eric Holder said, he followed that statement up with saying, I don't think that we should do anything illegal or inappropriate. So I'm taking this kick them as kick them out of the House and kick them out of the Senate come November.
But is that how things are shared, Dan, on social media? Going back to the way young people consume media, what are they going to consume, Dan?
You know, Laura, I just can't understand why the left just can't simply admit their people make mistakes and say really dumb things. Now Eric Holder was talking about kicking them out of the House, and that is not what he said. I mean,
no, I thought I interpreted it that way.
Oh, my... Rochelle, you know what? Just take over the whole debate. Go right ahead.
I want to play something really quickly. This is from Rand Paul's wife, Kelly, after, of course, a lot of this chaos out there. She said this back on October 8th, just a couple days ago. Let's watch.
There are so many, frankly, unhinged people and unstable people out there. And when they hear someone on their side telling them, get up in their face, they take that literally. Because of the violence that Rand has experienced in the last year, it does scare me that there is going to be somebody that is really unstable that takes that message a step further. We've updated all of our security systems at home. I sleep with a loaded gun by my bed.
Dan, final thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, he was attacked. He had broken ribs. He's coming down with frequent cases of pneumonia now. I mean, these are real cases. These aren't fabricated cases like the Sarah Palin PAC with the bullseye pictogram to raise money. These are real cases of leftist violence. I just wish the left would step up and say, hey, this is all wrong. We condemn it. Maxine Waters, Eric Holder, Hillary Clinton, tone it down. It's not right.
Both of you, thank you so much. I'll have you both back. Fantastic segment. And the type of mob violence we've been seeing from the left, it's nothing new. In fact, this has been around since Ronald Reagan was governor of California in the 1960s. And he had his own way, though, of dealing with the problem. Joining us now with insight, it's important to get some, Reagan biographer, presidential historian, Craig Shirley. Craig, I've been dying to talk to you. As the temperature is rising, though, you get the sense, especially with social media, that's a big difference between now and back in 1969. People are able to coalesce at a place really fast and assault people in public places, either verbally or otherwise. But how did Reagan deal with it, and how might we learn from that?
Laura, he dealt with it with a lot of wit and grace. I remember one time during the Vietnam War, he was confronted by a smelly, malodorous, dirty, disheveled hippie, and it may have been Bill Clinton, for all we know. But the hippie was carrying a sign that said, "Make love, not war." Reagan looked at the hippie and he looked at the sign. And he turned to an aide and he says, "You know, from the looks of him, I don't think he'd do either." So he had a way of. One time he was in his limo in Berkeley again. There was a group of unruly students out there, anti-war protesters, and they were making a scene and making themselves obnoxious. Reagan got a piece of paper and wrote on the piece of paper and put it up the windshield, and it said, "I'm selling my bonds."
Oh my God! Well,
he had a way of dealing with these things by turning humor to his advantage, which can be a great asset in American politics.
Yeah, I mean, you've seen Trump in recent days at these rallies. He's actually been extremely funny, but at the same time,
he's been very good.
But at the same time, it's a different environment media-wise. The media was against Reagan, hated Reagan was president. Yes. But there's something different about the way the clips on social media are shared. But I do want to play something for you. This is from 1969, and this is in a public meeting with the Berkeley administration during all of the chaos on campus. Let's watch.
All of it began the first time some of you who know better and are old enough to know better let young people think that they had the right to choose the laws they would obey as long as they were doing it in the name of social protest.
Boy, is that appropriate for today's time. I mean, what are we teaching the kids? You can trash something, pull down a statue because you don't like it, you give the middle finger to the president because someone gave you the lines to say.
He broke it down to its elements, to its components, and he revealed what was really going on there, which was it wasn't about social justice, it was about creating injustice. Look, this is the essential difference between the Tea Party of some years ago and the protesters of today, is that the Tea Party was defending institutions. The protesters of today are trying to tear down institutions, and that's the essential difference between the two.
Yeah, I mean, I think you've heard from some of the individuals who've gotten in the faces of these senators, and they say they want to take it all down. There's a piece in the Huffington Post today by one of them. They want to take it down. It's not about winning on a particular point or even a Supreme Court seat. It's about taking down the entire framework, which is just fomenting injustice against various minority groups in their view.
We're witnessing the 21st version of the French Revolution. The French Revolution, as you recall, was about tearing down all institutions in France, destroying everything, marriage, contracts, money, government, property, everything, in order to achieve what they called at the time social justice. And that's what the modern left, anti-protesters, Antifa protesters is about destroying all fabric of society in order to start over, and everybody supposedly starts out on an even playing field.
Okay, I'm hoping we hide all the guillotines at this point. Craig Shirley, thanks so much for joining us. And when it comes to what constitutes a mob, well, the media, they have a simple formulation. As Craig just alluded to, GOP Tea Party protests in 2009, a mob. Antifa-like tactics from the left now, not a mob. The video evidence when we return.
Put in jail. And somehow or other, it's the mob now. It's the mob.
Richard, see, when you say stuff like that, you're such a smart person. Everyone around Trump's getting locked up. That's just not true.
I'm sorry. A lot of people.
That's like the classic pundit overstatement that we just kind of got to get rid of.
Okay, but a lot of people around. My point is,
a lot of people.
My point is that this whole mob thing is now the enemy. That's the other, right? And I don't think we're going to ride that. I don't think you and your supporters are going to ride that.
No, we're going to ride
election day.
No.
I think the mob that Donald Trump has to worry about are the mobs of Democrats showing up to vote. That's the mob he has to worry about.
That's a nice turn of phrase, but it kind of avoids the point we're saying. I think the point that a lot of conservatives are concerned about, and maybe independents given their reaction to Kavanaugh, is that if they're going to do things like they've done to Joe Manchin, take his money away, even others who are not supportive in their own party, what are they going to do if they get power back? I mean, what type of punishment will be levied against others who don't agree, or who don't agree with the social construct they want to foist upon America?
Well, they might try to remove Brett Kavanaugh from the Supreme Court. I think the Republicans have gotten onto something here, and it's because of what we saw in the Kavanaugh battle. And they are, I mean, how many times have you heard Democrats in the past describe Republicans as extremists? And now look at what's happening. President Trump is talking about the Democrats being extremist. There are mob actions. They're going to take your Medicare, for goodness sake. So Republicans think that they have found a new theme to use 27 days before the election.
I think it's all about turnout. Richard's right about that, turning people out. And I think the Democrats are very good. They have a lot of money to turn out people to vote. Hollywood's helping out. I don't know what that ultimately will end up at. But they had a lot of anti-Trump mojo. The Republicans needed that unity. They didn't have it before. They have it now. I want to play something that was released from the Melania Trump interview with ABC about women and survivors and who needs to be heard. Let's watch.
I support the women, and they need to be heard. We need to support them. And, also men, not just women. We need to show the evidence. You cannot just say to somebody, I was sexually assaulted, or you did that to me, or because sometimes the media goes too far, and the way they portray some stories, it's not correct. It's not right.
But a lion was going to emerge in the backdrop there in Kenya. It was a very visual thing. She's been like filleted by mostly the left for saying that, because like this tweet response by Paige Pate, University of Georgia law professor. Victim's testimony is legally sufficient evidence by itself to convict someone of sexual assault. No other evidence is required. Richard, she was obviously making a reference without getting into it, Brett Kavanaugh, something 36 years later, no corroboration, contemporaneous. But like, she gets treated so differently than Michelle Obama in similar settings. Michelle Obama could say anything. It was like, oh my God, the queen has spoken, which is fine. People she was a great mom. She was a great first lady. A lot of people loved her. But she's just getting hammered for this type of statement. Do you think that is fair?
I think she represented the country beautifully in Africa. Honestly, it brought tears to my eyes the way that she was kind of. Okay. But if you were married to Donald Trump, you'd have to excuse away that kind of behavior too, because of the dozens of people that have come forward with accusations against him, many of whom are actually litigating him. So, of course, if you were married to him, of course you'd have to act like, well, it doesn't really count, because otherwise you'd leave him.
I'm sure that's the way Hillary would have reacted, right, given all the allegations?
I think many Americans would just agree with the simple statement is, yes, you should listen to someone who is pressing an accusation, but there should be some evidence to support it, too. Yeah. I think that's just self-evident.
When people say my truth needs to be heard, there is objective truth. That sometimes we have to think about what is objective truth. Gentlemen, thank you so much. And coming up, this is what a CNN commentator said about Kanye West just last night.
He's an attention whore like the president. He's all of a sudden now the model spokesperson. He's the token Negro of the Trump administration. This is ridiculous.
Candace Owens will join us later in the show with her reaction to that. Don't want to miss it. But next, Seen and Unseen with Raymond Arroyo will unveil the reality behind this moment from last week. Comedic gag. Stay there. I was trying to stop myself from laughing. Okay?
Well, you did see the video evidence. I mean, it was.
Are you okay?
I'm getting better.
Okay, yeah, okay.
The American Music Awards were on last night, Laura, but it isn't the music people are talking about today. After Taylor Swift's weekend Instagram, where she announced her support for Democrats in Tennessee, the whole industry is now getting in on the act. This is Billy Eichner. Watch.
Tonight is the final night to register in 20 states in this country. Please grab your friends. Tell them to vote. If you believe in equality for women, that's right. For people of color, for the LGBTQ community, you can go to vote.gov like Taylor Swift told you to. And go right now.
Now they're all political pundits. Everybody's got a political axe to grind.
Oh, isn't it nice?
I
don't even know who that is. I watched
Billy
these people.
He's Billy on the street. He attacks
I thought it was
people
Billy Idol. I'm like a little more interesting.
No, well, no, that's
White Wedding.
a white wedding. No,
that would have been like cool.
He's got
Billy
a
Idol.
residency in Vegas, so we'll go see him next.
Okay, good.
But my problem is the conjoining of entertainment with politics. People don't tune into these music award ceremonies for politics. Taylor Swift also had to jump in, and she had to give her 2 cents when she received her award.
This award and every single award given out tonight were voted on by the people, and you know what else is voted on by the people? Is the midterm elections on November 6th. Get out and vote.
All right, Taylor, shake it off.
So
Shake it off, shake it off.
Again, she keeps,
I hear that
she
song
keeps
one more
beating
time.
the drum.
Okay, before we go, we have. I think what you need, Raymond.
Yes.
Is an emotional support animal to get through this difficult time. Apparently, a woman on Frontier Airlines got booted from the plane because she brought an emotional support
squirrel. And I was sorry she didn't bring the tree along with the squirrel, but they threw her off the plane, threw everybody off the plane, brought the Orlando police in. They ended up delaying the thing by 2 hours, and Laura, because of the trauma I endured here last week, I did bring an emotional support animal. I don't know if you can see this. It's a small mouse.
Rat.
It is a rodent.
It's a
but
rat.
I'm going to leave it for you.
Oh, thank you. And the problem with that is the acorns really mess up gunk up the engines on the plane.
Well, why would you bring rodents on a plane?
All right.
I don't even like the dogs on the plane.
I used to call the squirrels Gray when I was little and give them little Ritz crackers and peanut butter. They would come up to me when I was little. I still have Gray.
I don't want to hear what
I'd rather sit next to a squirrel than some of the people I saw flying this past weekend with their underwear on, not even dressed.
Thanks for the pain. I'll have my lawyer check in with you.
All right, we'll knock you off next time harder. Trump voters have been wanting this since he was elected. It's now being introduced in a new bill. Majority Leader Kevin McCarthy is here next on the border wall proposal that he has for us. You do not want to miss. Stay there.
Wall and enforce the law, or didn't have a border with no border whatsoever, with allowing what they've done in San Francisco today, allowing illegals to vote in our elections, or when they want to eliminate ICE. I would wish every American would spend one day with a Border Patrol agent. I was down in El Paso. This was the first place that the Border Patrol began. They call it where the legend all began. If they spend one day with them, I don't think there'd be any question about building this wall and keeping our community and children
this is why
safe.
we have you there, and this is why Fox News reports on these. We had just a horrible example of illegal immigrant crime. A woman raped in New York, but no coverage of this for the most part in the mainstream media. Zero. And again, they care about women, but we have a woman raped at the hands of an illegal alien, and just like it never even happened. Congressman, I've got to get you to react to this ever increasing rabid mob-like atmosphere among a very strong, virulent strain of the Democrat Party. Maxine Waters reacted to the mob question. Let's watch.
There are people who hear that and they think what you're calling for is physical intimidation, things that fray at the social fabric.
That is absolutely untrue. If they would like to take and redefine somehow protest and call it something else, they'll try and do that. Yes, we're shouting out, we have signs, we're saying what we think will get to the public, and we are not saying we're going to kill anybody, we're going to hit anybody, or we're going to cause anybody any harm. That's a lie in the way that they're trying to redefine protest.
Congressman, we're out of time, but she said get in their faces. What does that all mean?
That means if they were to win the majority, she'd be the chair of financial services, one who asks people to actually cause problems to other individuals. It's the opposite of what we expect from our elected officials. That's why this November is so important, to make a fundamental difference and not let the Democrats take over.
Everyone's got to get out to vote. Thank you so much, Congressman. CNN spent last night leveling atrociously offensive phrases at Kanye West just because he supports President Trump. Candace Owens up next. Now imagine this flying anywhere else. Last night, Don Lemon thought it was hilarious when guests on his show mocked Kanye West's intelligence ahead of the rapper's meeting with President Trump tomorrow. And it was done in the most offensive way possible. Watch.
Kanye West is what happens when Negroes don't read. And we have this now, and now Donald Trump is going to use it and pervert it, and he's going to have somebody who can stand with him and take pictures.
and he's an attention whore like the president, he's all of a sudden now the model spokesperson. He's the token Negro of the Trump administration. This is ridiculous. No one should be taking Kanye West seriously. He's clearly has issues. He's already been hospitalized.
Joining me with reaction is Candace Owens, Communications Director for Turning Point USA. Candace, it really turns out that they cannot accept anyone who disagrees with them, who has any affinity for or any agreement with President Trump. Who's the intolerant one now, Candace?
They are absolutely intolerant, but I'll say this, most especially, to add to your statement, most especially black people. The Democrats rely on our vote. If they secured 85% of our vote, they would lose. So they need to achieve more than 85% of the black vote to sustain their party. So they have gone through great lengths to smear Kanye West. And what they said last night was not only racist, it was absolutely despicable. And I cannot believe that it would be allowed on any network, least of all having a host that's laughing as if it's funny.
Yeah, the entire panel kind of just went on with that. Imagine if a conservative host had a guest on who said something like that and laughed. There would be calls for boycotts. I mean, I got in trouble with poor old LeBron James. I was just teasing him. Like, oh, you can't say. But it's like you can't joke, but they can say the most horrific things possible, and you're shut down. What does this mean, though, for the Democrat Party? I think they're worried, are they not, Candace? I mean, you've broken through in your own way in politics. You just kind of came on the scene with Turning Point USA. There are other people who are coming forward saying, the demonization of Donald Trump and the Republicans, God, the economy is doing really well. I mean, the market's down today, but, this kind of stuff happens. But the stuff's going pretty well, and these people seem really angry all the time. It kind of doesn't compute at some point.
Well, the anger is masking their insecurity. They are terrified. They were not predicting this. They had no idea that there was any chance that conservatives might come after the culture war. They won the culture war a long time ago. So for Kanye West to stand up and to say that I support Donald Trump, that terrifies them. So they're going to say whatever they can to smear him, to make sure that no other black people wake up and understand that it has been the left that has harmed our community. It has been Democrat policies that have rendered our communities in the shape that they are in today when we talk about Chicago and Philadelphia and all the major cities that they have run down. Black people are having a mass awakening, and Kanye West is a big part of the reason why.
Now, you've met with Kanye West. I guess you're going to meet him tomorrow before his lunch with President Trump. You guys struck up something about friendship. What is it with him and Trump? Is it just they're pals? Is there a path toward criminal justice reform, prison reform, other work they might do to get kids out of gangs? Like what's the collaboration there?
Look, I don't want to speak for him, but I will tell you my assessment of it after having several conversations with him. First and foremost, Kanye is very educated about the Democrat Party and the history of the Democrat Party. Beyond that, Kanye West really does believe in uniting both sides and going forward. We know the left, they want to make sure that everybody is separate. They want to keep the themes of racism alive. They like fear-mongering. Kanye West is not about any of those things. He really wants to see a world that is better than the world that we were in yesterday, and he sees a unique opportunity in Donald Trump because he sees that our president is courageous. He's willing to say the things that need to be said, and we haven't had that. Certainly not for the last 8 years when Barack Obama was in office.
I think they're terrified of Kanye West. So it's like he's crazy. he belongs in an insane asylum. They don't want to actually argue about the thing, which is the failures of the Democrat Party. Candace, all right, Candace, give us an update after your meeting tomorrow with Kanye. It's good to see that happening. And coming up, an inspiring whodat last bite that you will not want to miss. Fight. Amidst all the hyper-political fights, we thought it best to end tonight on an uplifting note. Fresh off becoming the NFL's all-time leader in yards passing, Drew Brees shared this beautiful moment with his children.
Boys, how about that, huh? Yeah, how about that? Hey, I love you guys so much. Hey, you're going to accomplish anything in life you're willing to work for, right? I love you, boys. I love you.
I'm trying to get over the Redskins loss. Right? Merriman said I would cry. I'm crying because of the Redskins loss. Now, that was really cute. What a moment. And that's all the time we have tonight. Shannon Bream and the Fox News.